There's a moon, I think, is it one of Saturn's or Jupiter's moons or something? Might be Uranus.
Might be Uranus.
Okay, calm down. Season 3.
This is a family-friendly podcast.
Hello and welcome to Good for a Change, the first episode of Season 3 of Good for a Change, and they said it wouldn't last. This is a podcast where we aim to combat the awful everyday news you hear with stories that will make you...
Smile!
Oh, I hated that. I hope we don't keep that in Season 3. I hated every second of that. I'm Jarrod, and currently looking very proud of herself for doing that was Hollie.
Hello, Hollie.
And also, not looking as proud, but still looking kind of proud is Sean.
Hello.
Hi, gang.
Hello.
Look, it's Season 3.
Season 3. We are now even more distance from each other.
I know. We could not be... Actually, we could be far more distant from each other. But we are... This is now an interstate podcast.
Yeah, we went from being in the same room to being in different suburbs to being in different states of Australia.
We did. I cry every day about it.
Oh, we don't.
That's not true. That's not true at all. Although, well, look, spoiler alert, there'll likely be an episode or two later this season where we're all in the same room.
Yes, very exciting.
But we'll get to that. We'll get to that in about 6-7 weeks. All right. Well, look, you know, we're not gonna screw around. We know what we're doing. Time for some good news. I want Sean to go first, only because we organised that before we press record.
Wow, how spontaneous.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, my new story actually ties in very tenuously to the start of Season 3 here. I thought, Season 3, let's find a story that relates to the number 3, and the world provided for me. Or should I say, actually, maybe the galaxy provided for me.
Ooh.
Because my story is about the fact that right now, there are 3 missions imminently about to reach Mars.
Stop it.
Yes, so... Actually, at time of recording from the United Arab Emirates, there is one mission called Hope, which is should have arrived in orbit yesterday, I believe it was. And it's going to float around there for a year, I think, and monitor the climate of Mars. And they're going to try and work out why there's like a chunk of the atmosphere missing.
That's not good.
Really?
Yeah, so that's like, they're trying to work out what's going on there. So that's the first mission. Then mission number 2, which should be arriving today, as we record this, is from China, and that's the Tianwen-1. I could be pronouncing that wrong, so I'm sorry if anyone's listening from there. And that will enter orbit today. They are searching for water, and they're going into like this, like, I think they're going around like how our moon has like the dark side of the moon. Yeah. I think they're sort of arriving on the dark side of Mars, so that's like, ooh, it's a bit worrying.
How are they running that? Because
I don't
they're
know.
Solar powered, aren't they?
I have no idea.
That's what's happened to Oppie.
Ah.
Oppie's it lost sun, and then it
powered down.
Then it powered down.
So do you know what they need to do, Hollie? They need to send Matt Damon, who's stuck up there, to go and fix it.
He's
Get
a pro.
Potatoes.
Yeah, poo potatoes.
Well, that one's going to be up in orbit, I guess, for a little bit. In May, they are going to descend a rover onto the surface of Mars because they are searching for water. So they're going to have a rover on Mars, which is pretty exciting because so far it's only NASA that's had that. And on those lines, mission number 3, which is arriving in about a week's time, is NASA's next Mars rover, which is called Perseverance. And that is going to be searching for signs of life. It's going to be driving around on the surface of Mars. It's going to be digging some holes. It's going to be collecting some samples. And
If they don't call that Percy,
Yeah.
I will lose my mind.
And so this one is, it's like digging holes and grabbing the samples, and then for the first time they're leaving it for future missions to come and collect. So obviously these ones have just been sending back data so far.
Yeah.
But this one's going to actually collect samples, but it can't make it back to Earth. But the next few missions down the line,
Might be able to
they
grab
might be
it.
able to grab it and bring it back.
Okay.
So that's what that one's doing. But it has I say this is good news because it is good news that they're all arriving at the same time, and it's exciting that we've got this far scientifically. But this NASA one has a thing called the 7 minutes of terror.
Yeah, isn't that when the it can't read the satellite anymore and they don't know where it is for 7 minutes?
Yeah. It's like 7 minutes of descent onto Mars where they just have no idea where it is.
That
and
would be
whether it's
quite
working.
stressful. 7 minutes is quite long, isn't it?
Yeah, you can, and the thing is, like with most Mars missions since the 60s, like about half of the missions that have been sent out there, or over half of the missions that have been sent out there, have failed.
Yeah.
Because they might miss the planet, or they might crash into the planet, or the 7 minutes of terror goes wrong or something, and so it's not the most successful thing we've ever done, and it's so far away, like compared to the moon, which is much closer, and even the moon has failed missions go to it. Mars is a lot further away, and obviously a lot harder to control those things.
Interesting. Now, didn't they find recently proof of water somewhere? Like was it the moon?
Yeah, I thought they found proof of water on Mars.
Yeah,
It might have been the moon now I think about it.
It might be the moon as well. Maybe everything's got water on it.
Like, they didn't find evidence, they didn't find actual water,
No.
but they found,
River canals.
Yeah, or
river canals where there was water at one point.
I'm so sure that's... I feel like it's the moon. Not the moon. I feel like it's Mars.
All right, you do your Google search, and let me tell you why that would be impressive. Because one of the big things, like, I have some real faith, maybe not the right word, that I reckon in my lifetime, they will discover some sort of life on other planets.
Yeah, I think
whether
that's
it be
logical.
intelligent life, whether it just be like microbes or something. The best place they're going to find that is in water.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm excited to do that, because if they find any little microbes, like that's gonna blow, science wide open.
Yeah, like if there's microbes, then there's no way that we are
Alone.
the only...
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
No, and I don't think I don't think we're alone in this universe.
No.
At all. I think it's ridiculous to believe we would be. So I'm really excited about that. Holly, what did you find out?
I'll tell you what I found out. So, in 2012, NASA scientists found out that there was evidence of ancient streams, like water flows, on Mars. It says that the water probably ran about hip depth at 3.3 kilometers per hour.
Well, there you go.
That's quite a vigorous stream.
Can we call this episode Vigorous Stream?
And just to back up your moon thinking, Jarrod.
Yep.
In 2020, NASA had an observatory that discovered that there was water or water molecules on the moon's surface as well. So
you're much more up to date with your
there we
space
go.
knowledge than I am, Jarrod.
Well, I have a big love for all this space stuff, so...
As you
you
should.
do, because you do a lot of sky watching, don't you, Jarrod? I don't know what the official term of that is.
I do a lot of sky watching. I see, I have a telescope, so occasionally I'll go out and take a look. One of my favourite things to do is go up to my uncle's farm. He lives up in the country where there's no light pollution at all.
Oh.
And you go outside there and it is just... Like, when you see those photos of, like, it's obviously not that good, but it is not far off. And one time he and we saw this, like, flickering light. It was, like, blue, red, blue, red, blue, red, blue, red. And we looked at it through the telescope and couldn't quite tell what it was. So we looked up the coordinates on our phones. And it's apparently 2 stars. One of them's, like, red hot. One of them's, like, blue hot. That's the word, blue hot. Vigorous streams and blue hot. And they are, like, one's in the process of, like, absorbing the other one.
Ooh.
And so they spin around each other.
Oh, that's weird.
Like millions of miles an hour until finally one day they'll come together.
That's
Wow.
so
That's really
intense.
cool. I like when people have cool telescopes and they can see like the rings of Saturn and stuff like that. I'm always a bit jealous because sometimes like Hollie will have an app on her phone that tells you like what a certain star is or if it's a planet or those kind of things. And I think it's really cool, like you're looking up and you're like, oh, that's actually Saturn or that's Mars. And recently we had like 3 in a row or something, didn't we? That was happening. And I could like see them as like bright lights, but like couldn't really see any closer.
You can always tell if it's a planet.
Yeah.
You could. It's
always that
vibe,
little bit brighter.
Like, that's a planet.
I get a feeling just deep within me, that's a planet.
Yeah.
The moon can see that very clearly. That's
Yeah.
Oh.
That's not a planet, Sean.
Oh,
That's a moon.
you can tell I'm not a professional at the sky stuff.
No.
It stresses me out a bit, to be honest. Like the expanse of space.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I remember one time was when we had like one of those blood moons. And I was out with my telescope looking at it, and I was taking a couple of photos through my telescope of it. And I put on Facebook, I said, I don't understand how anyone can think this isn't fascinating. And one of my friends commented, because I find it terrifying. And I was like, oh, yeah. Yeah, okay, fair enough.
I think it's so cool. Like, I think space is so cool. I'm so interested in space. I'm so interested in space travel. But the idea of infinity messes with me. So I can't look at the stars for too long, because the idea that there is no end and that is so full of stuff is so like beyond what I can comprehend as a human being.
What gets me is what was here before it.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is getting into a whole other situation. This is getting into a whole other conversation for another podcast.
Hi, welcome to Deep for a Change, where we go real deep.
This is a question that I may have raised on the podcast before, but if anyone knows, please send us an email at goodforachangepodcast@gmail.com.
No, I feel like I know where this is going.
You know exactly where this is going. So I went to the Science Museum in London many times, but one time in particular sticks out in my mind, wherein they describe how they use Velcro on spaceships.
Okay.
Because Velcro is very strong.
Yes.
Especially in an anti-gravity situation. When you pull on Velcro, it just gets stronger because it's hooked, so it's just like pulling on each other more. So I was talking to Sean about this. I'm a big advocator of Velcro. I think it's a very useful medium of sticking things. And so I was talking to Sean about this. He was like, I don't believe it. And I was like, right. So we've got a friend, Mark, who's a rocket scientist. And so I was like, right, we're going to call Mark. And Mark was like, that's not true, Hollie. And I was like, I feel like it is true. And he was like, that's 100% not, like, I've never heard of that in my life. He's got 2 master's degrees. He's never heard of it. So if anyone knows about Velcro in space and could give me more information on that, I would be...
It's the strength that you're questioning.
It's the use and the strength.
Because they definitely use it in space.
Well, I
hold things on the wall.
emailed the Science Museum... And I was like, hello. And it was like the customer service. Do you have any questions? And then they replied and they were like, you've got the wrong department. And I was like, that's not very...
Did they not tell you that at least the correct department?
They did not know. So I'm in this situation with Velcro in space.
Okay, well, we'll figure that out. By the end of season 3, we're gonna discover the strength of Velcro in space. All right, I'm going to call NASA now.
Oh, because you think they use it on the outside?
They used it on the outside to hold things onto the outside.
No.
They did.
No.
No, they did. I
They
think
might
it was
have
on
it to
the
like,
moon
oh, I'm
lander.
doing some like
So, you know,
scissors or
like-
something, and I just need to quickly stick it on there while I move
Yeah,
across.
obviously they use it for that. But I saw on the outside of like the moon lander,
The escape pod, just Velcroed.
it's like made of like tinfoily stuff, and they Velcro.
I believe it's cling wrap.
onto the outside, but the usefulness of that is because there is no gravity. Like it's not like the structural
Yeah.
highlight of the
integrity
spaceship.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
For that they use clag.
Yoo-hoo.
All right. Well, we'll discover that by the end of season 3. We're gonna get an answer to that. But while we were talking about the expanse and the universe and things we don't understand, let me take us back, Hollie. We're gonna go back in time. I want to tell you about a 4-year-old in the Welsh town of Barry, which is incidentally my favourite name for a town ever.
You also got really lucky on Welsh town names there, because that could have been very hard to pronounce very quickly.
That's where Gavin and Stacey is set.
Oh, is it?
Barry Island.
In Barry. So this 4-year-old girl made a miraculous discovery while visiting the beach with her family. What could it have been? The girl, her name is Lily, was checking out all the rocks when she spotted one that looked a little bit different. And upon closer inspection, she and her dad noticed it had a footprint on it. Ooh, I wonder what it could be. They took a photo of it because the dad had an inkling that it might be something important. So they sent it off to an expert who determined that it was the fossilized footprint of a dinosaur who roamed the area 215 million years ago.
Wow. That's lucky that they got the right email and that they didn't get a response saying this is the wrong department.
The science centre is very difficult to get hold of.
It's now gone off to the National Museum in Cardiff. They gained permission from the correct authorities, whoever they had to collect the fossil. And they're studying it out there. What they've discovered so far is that it was only a short little dinosaur, only a stubby little thing. It was about 30 inches tall, but it was 8.2 feet long.
Whoa.
So it was stubby but long.
Like a snake with legs.
Yeah, a little bit. That's called a lizard, champ. Which is kind of what a dinosaur is. So this is really scientific, this episode.
We know what we're talking about.
We do. So again, in my quest to make this the most visual podcast on the planet, I am going to share a photo of it. Sean, while I'm doing that, if you'd like to tell people where they will be able to find these things.
Yes, if you'd like to see the visual elements of the podcast that we talk about all the time, jump onto our Instagram page at Good for a Change Podcast, and you can usually see it all there.
Wow. So there you go. So there's the footprint.
That's very clear.
That is cool.
Very clear. Apparently they can see, obviously in this photo it isn't great, but you can apparently you can see indentations of like the not skin's not the right word, but like the pads on the hands, the claw indentations, stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I don't know, I think it looks bigger on here than it actually would be, because obviously, like we said, it's a stubby little monster. It's a little stubbosaur.
That's what I'd call it. Or I'd call it Barry.
Barry the stubbosaur. But yeah, that's the fossil.
Oh wow.
That's pretty cool.
Pretty crazy, isn't it?
That's what you dream of. We went fossil hunting once in Dorset. Charmouth, yeah. On the Jurassic coast. And you arrive there and there's a little gift shop and you can buy a bag with a hammer and a pair of goggles so you don't smash rocks into your eyes. And you literally pick up a rock, hit it with a hammer, open it up, got a fossil in it.
Yeah, it was actually a really rewarding experience. You know, sometimes you go to like tourist attractions. Say, for example, like if you're going to one of the gold rush towns in Australia, and you can go gold panning because there might be wink wink gold in the river here, and like there's never gold, or there's like the tiniest.
There's never
flecks.
gold, or there's tiny little flecks that they've probably put in there that morning.
They've planted, yeah.
And they have like a gift shop next to it that's like, buy some actual gold.
Yeah.
And we rocked up here, and they did have a like gift shop that was like, buy fossils. And actually the fossils that we wore at the wedding on our cuffs were from that gift shop.
Oh, were they?
Because I thought maybe fossil hunting I could find some ammonites.
We did find some ammonites.
And we did actually find ammonites, just they weren't big ammonites.
What is like rewarding about that experience? What is rewarding about like actively fossil hunting is that when you smash that rock open, you are the first person to see that thing
in millions of years.
Millions of years.
Yeah.
It's incredible. It's so interesting. I don't know like what I mean, they would tell you not to do it if you weren't meant to do it, I guess. But
yeah, and I mean, like, we didn't find anything massive, and I think the whole thing is there's so many ammonites in that area and whatever that it's like and this one was the ones we found were like literally only like a couple of centimeters big. It wasn't like a big chunky ammonite that you see in a museum or anything like that. It was definitely
that was from a chunkosaurus.
That was from a chunkosaurus.
Stephen.
But like that is the part of the world where they like discovered like the plesiosaur. And
sorry, I feel like that joke got completely passed over, Hollie. That was very funny. Well done.
Thanks, mate. Carry on.
You know that is that part of the world where they discovered a lot of like
the big boy dinosaurs.
The big boy fossils of the time. So some of the first ones I think were discovered there.
Yeah.
So it's really cool that like there's still stuff there as well. Like that's a weird thing too, that like you can still go there.
England is a fossil rich country. I didn't realise that Barry.
Yeah, I believe they are now going to go and look more around that area. Because I mean, if this is there, there's very likely going to be more.
That makes sense.
Australia is not that fossily.
No.
We've got a couple. There was one that was discovered down in the area where I live. There was one found here, I want to say maybe 20 years ago. But it's weird to think that, where I'm sitting right now, a big T-Rex could have been hanging out right here.
Dinosaurs are really cool as well because I guess in your head you're like, all dinosaurs existed at the same time. Dinosaurs was an era.
Yeah,
Not at all. I think we are closer to... I might get this the wrong way around, but it's something like we are closer to the time that the T-Rex lived than the Triceratops was to when the T-Rex lived.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they always have them in like the same...
Yeah.
Like in the same pictures and stuff. And it's like, no, these two did not live together.
It's so wild. Like millions and millions of years of history.
Yeah, time is a weird thing.
It's a weird thing. It's cool though.
It's a weird thing.
Wow, I sure hope Hollie's story is really deep because this is like the deep episode. Really...
My story's about a dog that I saw on the train the other day. So.
Oh. Was that train going forward or backward?
Both.
Ooh.
Well, I think mine is fairly intellectual. Mine is about the world famous bookshop in Paris, Shakespeare and Company.
Oh, nice. I love Shakespeare and Company.
We've been to Shakespeare and Company. It's a huge historic bookshop in the middle of Paris. I think it's opposite Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. It was opened in 1919, and the likes of T.S. Eliot and F. Scott Fitzgerald frequented the bookshop / salon. This year, it's had a bit of a rough year. And so it sent out an email to all of its followers, all of its subscribers, and said, "Hi guys, our sales are down 80% on what they were last year." And so the fans and followers of Shakespeare and Company bought so many books that they broke the website.
Oh, no.
Yeah, they really went for gold. They really booked out the bookshop there.
Yeah. Waka waka.
As far as like iconic bookshops go as well, like that is one of the bookshops that I think of as like if someone goes like, "Oh, what's like a bookshop you know of or think about or that kind of thing," and Shakespeare and Company is one.
Yeah.
Like the first time I was in Paris, I like actively sought it out, and I've gone every time since.
I see. I didn't know it was there, and I've been to Notre Dame, so I should have just turned around and gone.
It's wonderful. It's a really nice bookshop, and they so the original owner opened it and then kind of invited the fancy book writers, the elite, and then her father, I believe, that might not be 100% right, took it over when she passed away. And he started inviting people to sleep there and work there because the atmosphere of the bookshop is of such like inspiration that he thought that the creativity that would come from that would be worthwhile, and it is. It's such like an interesting place to be in.
If you've never been there before, it's sort of like tucked away between some really old buildings. And I think it was at
Classic
one point...
France.
Yeah. At one point, I think the building it's in was a church or a monastery or something like that. And it's not huge, but it's all sort of like nook and cranny-ish when you go inside.
Yeah.
And there's just books everywhere over all the walls. There's like flagstone flooring kind of thing on the bottom floor. And then as you go up, there's like a little nook with a typewriter in it. And there's old books and there's new books and there's secondhand books. And I think the last time we were there, that actually extended into a bit like around the corner as well, and they have an antiquarian bookshop attached to it too, with like really rare copies. And I got my sister like a really fancy copy of a Jane Austen book because she loves Jane Austen, and I saw that in the window and I was like, that'll be a great gift for her, because where else do you come across one of these things? And I think that's like, my sister is quite into books and things, and I think that's one of the bookshops that like she knows about, and it's because it has that like history of all these famous writers have sort of like done that work exchange thing and stayed there, and you basically get accommodation in exchange for working, and then you can write or you can do whatever art form or writing you do there. And yeah, it's quite an institution, so that's good that they like saved it.
Yeah, I think that's essentially what happened is they had run out of savings and they were like, we're really on the edge, and everyone stepped up and they were like, yeah, Shakespeare and Co. And now they've started a like membership program, so you get like, I don't know, books probably, and it starts like €45, but it means that like they are getting the support, because I think often with places like this, we will often go to like a bookshop or something just to like be in the environment. So you might find that you are losing out on sales because it is more of an experience to go there than like, it's not like going to Dimmicks or Waterstones. It's an experience. So you might not purchase, but it means that you can still support that business in a way that is beneficial for them.
Yeah. Excellent. I don't know what it is, but I find with bookshops, because I will seek out a bookshop basically wherever I am, and I find that I remember bookshops really well when I'm thinking about, like, if I go back somewhere. For example, like, there's one in LA that I really, really like. And I'd only been there once, and then the next time I was in LA, I knew exactly where to go. I knew exactly how to get there. I knew exactly what part I liked. And it had been like, I want to say 5 years between these two visits. Yeah, I knew exactly where I wanted to go. Get to the hotel I stayed at, or anything like that. But the bookshops, I remember really, really well.
Yeah.
So when you say, like, this place has all the nooks and crannies and stuff, I have no doubt that if I was to go there once, then 10 years later I could go again. I'd know exactly where I wanted to go.
Yeah. It is like that, isn't it? And we do the same thing when we go anywhere. Especially, we love an antique bookshop. When we were in Switzerland this time last year, there was an amazing, like, English language antique bookshop. And it was a really similar vibe. Like, I feel like Europe does this well. Like, these old bookshops with big oak bookshelves and falling
antique
apart books.
Yeah.
We love it.
But there's just something about the magic of a bookshop, isn't there?
Yeah.
That is sort of unlike any other shop. That maybe the only other shop that comes close really is like a toy shop, I think.
Yeah.
But there's
like a quality
quality
toy
one.
shop.
Yeah. And the same with a bookshop. Like it's got an independent bookshop usually.
It's got to have panache.
But there's such a personality to them, and there's such a magic to a bookshop, and I just love getting lost in a bookshop.
They say reading and buying books are two completely separate hobbies.
Oh, I like that.
And that is accurate.
That is accurate. Well, you mentioned Jane Austen. Is that the house we went past where she died?
Yes.
Was that her?
Yes.
And then there's a bookshop like 2 houses down from where she lives.
Yeah.
And I remember we went there.
That's a lovely bookshop.
That is a lovely bookshop. And I remember I sat and I read a children's book to you, Holly. I think there's photos of me doing it.
That was in Winchester, wasn't it?
Yeah, Winchester. I was like,
Lovely.
what a weird moment in our lives. We're 2 houses down from where Jane Austen lived and died, and here I am reading like Run Spot Run.
And I thoroughly enjoyed the Run Spot Run.
You did, and it's 2 literary geniuses on that street. Well, look, I'm gonna have to go next time I go to Paris. I'm gonna seek that place out, and I know that it's right near Notre Dame. I know how to get there. That's fine.
I feel like there's a cafe outside as well.
Yeah,
I feel like there's tables outside that you can sit and have a little awful coffee from France.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in France. I'm just gonna have cheese or wine.
Yeah, cheese or wine's the way to go.
That's the way to do it. Well, if you know any good bookshops that we should visit, or you've been reading any good news recently, we would love to know so that we can maybe share it on the podcast with our listeners. Email us at goodforachange@gmail.com, or drop us a message on Facebook, on our Facebook group. Just search for Good for a Change. We've got a banana in the logo, and you can join. I think there's over 100 people on that group now sharing good news from around the world, which is really exciting, and hopefully that continues to grow throughout season 3. So join us there on Facebook. Send us good news. We'd love to hear it.
Well, I love a bookshop. It's good. It's good in my life. Oh, look at how I tied that in. Hey, Holly.
Yes, Jarrod.
What's good in your life, my friend?
Let me tell you what's good in my life. So we have briefly touched upon us moving. We've moved to Queensland. And what is nice about Queensland is that everything is lovely and open at the moment. And what that means is that I saw Shrek the Musical the other day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I did. And let me tell you what, I have been waiting to see Shrek the Musical since I was 18. I am now older than 18.
I think we saw it when we were 19, Sean, didn't we? We saw it first week in Broadway.
You didn't enjoy it. Sean literally sits here and says terrible things about Shrek the Musical all the time to me.
I enjoyed it.
As you should, because it is a wonderful example of musical theatre. When I was 18, when I started university, I had like 4 friends, and all we would do was watch the Shrek the Musical recording and listen to Shrek the Musical all the time, obsessed with Shrek the Musical. And then I was like, I'm going to go see the Shrek the Musical. And then I never did.
Never?
So it's been 7 years of like me just quietly harbouring this love for Shrek the Musical. And you can't tell people you love Shrek the Musical, especially when you work in a theatre industry. You can't be like, oh, my favourite is Shrek. I've never seen it, but I love it. But I did see it and I did love it.
Okay, can I ask then, what's a musical you can say is your favourite where people won't judge you? Because I'm a big fan of Avenue Q. If I said that to someone in the theatre industry, would they judge me?
I wouldn't
I think
judge
you'd be
you,
judged well for that.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I feel like, now, there's 2 alleys that you can go with this. You can go like a classic, or you can go like a weird one. So Sean's favourite musical is Title of Show, obviously. Now, in a theatre environment, people will be like, ooh, Title of Show, I haven't heard of Title of Show. Or, ooh, Title of Show, I remember that. What an interesting favourite musical. Or you can go down the other alley, where probably my favourite stage musical in a theatre environment, apart from Shrek the Musical, is probably Cabaret. And that feels like a safe bet, because that's like Eliza Joel Grey classic, exactly.
And it's intellectual, but it's also like, oh, it's fun.
Fun, yeah, interesting. It's got good costuming. It's like, people know it. People know the songs. So I feel like that's people don't know Shrek, you know? When I say, oh my gosh, how wonderful is I Know It's Today from Shrek the Musical, people go like,
oh, that's a great song.
Oh, stop.
See?
That is genuinely a
That
great
is actually a
song.
good
That's like
song.
the only song I
So many-
remember from that musical.
Yeah. I mean, it was perfection. It's the book is, but the score is wonderful. I love it.
Well, the interesting thing about the score is, Jarrod, when we saw it, it was that first week of previews. They literally opened the week we were in New York.
Yeah.
And they were still doing a lot of work on the show, really. It is not the format that it is in now, basically. And one of the things is, and this is the thing that sort of got me about Shrek, was that the film has such a good soundtrack. Like, it is one of, like, if not the best film soundtrack of all time.
Of all time. Except for Cabaret.
But because of that, I felt like the score lacked a little bit in the show, and that's why I didn't like it so much. One of the things that they found in that first week of previews was that the audiences were leaving going like, there was none of the music from the film.
Where's Smash Mouth?
Where's Smash Mouth? Where's I'm a Believer?
Yep.
And so they went back in and they put I'm a Believer in as sort of like a curtain call number. Sort of like in the film when they do basically the same thing and they all have a dance karaoke party.
Is All Star in it?
No, All Star's not in it.
No.
It's
Wow.
just I'm a Believer now at the end. But it does make it a better ending because you leave going like, I'm a believer.
Yeah.
I think the thing is, and it potentially is detrimental to Shrek the Musical, and I, again, not going to oversell this, massive fan of Shrek the Musical. I feel like there's too many ballads across the entire musical, top to bottom. It's like every song is a really intense, very well-written ballad, instead of All Star by Smash Mouth.
Yeah.
Look, I will say that while I'm sitting here defending it, I have not watched it, obviously, since 2008, and I have not listened to the soundtrack since about 2009, January. Which was only about 3 weeks after we saw it.
Yeah, that.
So I'm sitting here defending it. I remember I Know It's Today being a great song. I remember I Could Get Used to This. Is that a song?
That was when they cut.
Yeah, that's not there anymore.
Did they cut
Yeah,
that?
that was a demo track.
I've definitely
they
heard that.
released.
Okay, I was going to say, I've definitely heard that song.
When it was out
Freak
of town.
Flag, that's a good one.
Freak Flag Fly, I remember
Yeah.
that. Yeah, there we go. Well, look, it's been nice to nerd out on theatre with you.
Musical.
Well, if I can just say, I got to, I told you guys this the other day, but I got to interview Jen Barnhart, who was one of the original performers on Avenue Q.
Mm-hmm.
She did it for like 10 years. And I sat there for 45 minutes, and all we did was, we're meant to be talking about Sesame Street and the Muppets. All we did was talk about Avenue Q for a good 45 minutes.
As you should.
And it was fascinating. So people will be able to hear that at some point, but that is months down the track. I will shamelessly promote myself when that comes out in, I think, April.
Wonderful. Well, Shrek the Musical's good in my life, Sean. I assume it is also going to be yours, so off you go.
Oh, actually, it's not going to be mine.
Weird.
Oh, this is awkward.
No, but mine sort of, I guess, relates to your story, Holly, in that this year I have decided to read more books. I love reading, as we've sort of established in this book selling discussion. But I just found that like last year, even though I had a lot of time to myself, didn't do a lot of reading. And the other thing I noticed was that like I generally in the past have read like historical books or biographies, and I don't read a lot of fiction.
Yeah, you're a big non-fiction reader, aren't you?
And I thought, and it's mainly because I think like, what's the point in fiction? Like, it's not real. What am I doing here? And then I thought, you know what, I should give some fiction a shot. And very...
Says the man who makes fictional
Exactly,
theatre. But anyway.
Exactly.
What's the point, Jarrod? We've got a lot going on. Welcome back to Therapy with Jarrod.
And very luckily here in Brisbane, the charity Lifeline has opened up this absolutely massive charity book shop. It was meant to be a pop-up just before Christmas. They've now got like a 6-month lease or something, and they've got books, and they're dirt cheap. Some of them are $2.50, some of them are $5. That's kind of the spread in price. But they have thousands of books, and we will spend hours in there.
Because there's no rhyme or reason to the books. It'll be like, these 14 tables of fiction, they're not in alphabetical order, they're not in theme.
Oh, I think that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's...
Okay, when I come visit,
We're going
have
guess
a
what we're
browse.
doing one day. Yeah.
So we just spent a couple of hours in there and we just find things. And I was like, I'm going to take a stab. I'm just going to try some different fiction. I don't really know what kind of fiction I'm going to enjoy. So I'm just going to read some blurbs, you know, maybe read the first page, see if I like the sound of it and get some books from that. And I have read already, I think it's like 8 or 9 books this year. And quite a smattering of topics, which has been really interesting. So I've read like some Western books, which was really interesting. Didn't know I'd be interested in Western stuff, but it's sort of worked out. I've read a book from like a Swedish author, which was about like a bank heist and a hostage situation gone wrong, but like in a comical way, not in like a serious like action kind of way. And that was enjoyable. I read the President Obama biography, so I guess that's not fiction, but just a real smattering of different things. And I've been really enjoying it. And it's been nice to take the time and do some reading and just re-engage with that love of reading that I have.
I've been reading at the moment. See, I'm a big non-fiction reader. I'm a big biography reader. I've just read Fiona O'Loughlin's new book, Tales from an Unreliable Witness or something, I want to say. I can't remember exactly what it's called. But it's about her her talking about her alcoholism. And it is harrowing, but it's fascinating to read. And then I'm just about to start, I only finished that literally last night, and I'm going to start Kitty Flanagan's biography.
Nice.
Which is next. But yeah, I'm not a big fiction reader either.
I feel
just
like
sort of go,
they're very hit and miss fiction, because I would say in general I read the most fiction. I probably buy the most non-fiction, but I read the most fiction, and I am notorious for not finishing a book. I think there is so little time in the world that if I am not enjoying a book, I won't finish it. So there are very few books that I will start and also finish. Whereas with non-fiction, if you know you're interested in
that
in
topic,
that field, then it's going to be an interesting read.
So how long do you give it then before you go, I'm not reading this anymore?
I usually get about a third of the way in, and then I'm like, if I don't reach for it again, then...
I recently did that. I've got a couple of books on my Kindle that I've just stopped reading. I was reading It, and
that's lengthy.
It's lengthy, and I love the movies, but I'm reading this book, and I'm like well over a third into it, and the clown's killed one person. I'm like, let's get it going, mate.
Let's get a move on, my dudes.
Yeah, so that's what's been good in my life, doing some reading. How about you, Jarrod? What's good in your life?
What's good in my life? So, last season I mentioned that my sister was pregnant and that she was having a boy. Well, he is here.
Yeah.
Well, he's not here. He's not in my
the
house.
room.
No, he's not in the
Can't
room.
see him.
No. No, he is. He is alive and well, and everything's all good, and he's very cute. And I love his little face. He was born early January, so he's now started to smile and stuff like that. It is an effort to get a smile off him. I remember one of my nieces. She was so easy. You just looked at her and she beamed at you. But nah, you got to work to this kid. He won't do it.
Hard audience.
Oh, he's a hard audience.
We've all been there.
But he's very cute. I love his little face. I want to squeeze his little face because I love it so much. He does not like it when I squeeze his face. He cries a lot and then punches me quite often. But yes, no, he is here, and my nieces were absolutely in love with him for the first probably week and a half, and now they're like, yeah.
It's like that.
I remember my niece, the day he was born, my niece is like, how come I can't cuddle him? I want to hold him again. And my mum said, you realise he lives with you now, don't you? And she's like, oh yeah. Oh, okay, and then just couldn't care less anymore. But she sends us a lot of, so she's on Messenger Kids. She sends a lot of videos of him, and they're all horribly done. But, she's 6, I can't blame her. And look, he's 5 weeks old at the moment, and I've got away without changing a nappy so far, so...
Good work.
I'll see how long I got.
That's what's good in your life.
I think I got about 3 months with the second one, the second niece, and I think the first niece I did it straight away. But yeah, look, I'm just trying to. How long can I go without? We'll keep that running during the Good for a Change season 3. How long can I get away with not changing a nappy?
And it's good, Jarrod, that you've got a critic now. Maybe it was too easy with the nieces. You got away with too easy jokes with the nieces.
Oh,
you've got a real critic.
They're a real hard audience. They used to be a real easy audience. It's funny.
Hand hug won't fly anymore.
Oh, I love a hand hug. I forgot. I told you about the hand hugs. I said to the oldest one, she's now nearly 10. I said to her, "Oh, you realise that now he's born, I don't love you anymore." I said, because I love your sister, because I loved you 50%, your sister 50%, Now I'm going to love your sister 50% and your brother 50%. I'm not going to love you anymore, right? And she just looked at me and went,
So
I've never
mean.
loved you. And I was like, yeah, right, fair enough. So they're just as horrible to me as I
What
am
a
to them.
hero.
Yeah, she's great. It only hurt a little bit. just reliving it. And so that is the end of episode 1 of season 3.
Aw.
Third season. Most shows hit their stride in season 3. Do you think that'll be us?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hope so.
I hope
No,
we
I
get...
think we hit our stride in episode 1 of season 1. That 15-minute episode. Remember
It
those?
was good from the get-go.
Good from the get-go. I would have given... Do you know what I would have done to that first episode, Holly?
What?
I would have given it 5
5
stars.
stars, would you? I would have given it
Yeah.
5 stars as well, to be honest.
Well, I believe legally you have to.
Oh, it is the law.
How long do we
That's
have
right,
to
Sean.
wait between
This
seasons
bit's back.
for you guys to forget this bit?
Well, Sean,
Oh, this
I
is my favourite part of the show.
framed the legislation.
I can see it behind you.
There it is.
Yeah.
Gonna have to print that
So
now.
what... So, do you want to tell me, Holly, what is the
Yeah,
legislation,
one second,
the
let me
rules?
just get it down.
Legislation, what?
It's a government enforced law, Sean.
Yeah, that's what we've been doing the last couple of months, Sean. Holly and I have been, like...
Lobbying.
Lobbying
I've
to get
got
this stuff
no
done.
rights to vote in this country, but I have been lobbying for
Yeah.
a 5-star only review for the Good for a Change podcast. Section 1.1.
I truly love how much Sean hates this segment.
We do.
Because you really do.
Oh,
It's not a
it just-
joke.
It annoys me so much.
Well, you'll have the government to speak to about that.
Yeah, mate. If you don't give us 5 stars, Sean, you're getting
You're going
arrested, just as everyone else
prison.
is, because it is government law. So 5 stars only, please.
Thanks, guys.
Or, you know what? Subscribe. At the very least, subscribe, because I don't know if Jarrod remembers this, but if we get to 1 million subscribers, he's getting a Womble tattooed on his
Oh,
face.
I am getting a Womble's tattoo. Not on my face.
I think it was your face. I'm pretty sure it was your face.
I'm pretty sure you were getting the word Orinoco across your forehead.
Orinoco. Yeah, no, I'm not getting it on my face.
Fair enough.
But yeah, there you go. So do subscribe if you enjoyed listening to it. Tell a friend. Join the Facebook group. We'd love to have you there, sharing good news and enjoying yourself.
You can also follow us on Instagram if you want to have a look at any of the visual elements of the show. I don't know where we do things, so this is...
I think it's just Instagram
just
really
Instagram
now and
and
the Facebook group.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Don't look for us on Twitter. We're not there. Don't look for us on MySpace.
We do have a TikTok account.
It's a TikTok account. It's got 2 videos on it.
I'm going to start doing the cool boy dances.
Yeah, look, I'm not on that.
Yeah, you should do the cool boy dance.
Okay, I'm so glad I don't have a TikTok account now.
You're missing out on all the cool boy dance.
I'm missing out. I'm not sure I am, but Sean started to dance, so I'm going to get out of here. So thank you very much, Holly.
Thank you, Jarrod.
Thank you very much, Sean.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Jarrod. You're welcome.
Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.